Happy Monday, Saints fans. We got a loaded show full of some New Orleans Saints news and rumors for you. The first thing we're going to discuss is a trade update on Marshon Lattimore, as Saints head coach Dennis Allen spoke about it at the Saints Hall of Fame golf tournament. And then on top of that, we're going to discuss, should New Orleans bring back Michael Thomas? It's a loaded show, and we got a whole lot to discuss. But happy Monday, Saints fans. I got to give a big-time shout-out to Chubby Shorts. And I know it's Monday. We're all feeling gloomy. We're all feeling down in the dumps. But when you rock Chubby's gear, every day feels like the weekend. And the sky's out. You know what that means, Saints fans. The thighs are out, baby. Chubby Shorts makes clothes for every moment and makes every day feel like a vacation. Some people wear tuxedo t-shirts to show how much they like to party. But for me personally, I rock Chubby Shorts, swimsuits, and shirts by the pool, at the bar, or when I'm kicking it back with some homies. So crack open a cold one and make any day feel like a Saturday when you use our code CHAT, that's code CHAT, to get 20% off when you visit chubbyshorts.com. Now, I'm a dude who's got tree trunks for thighs and a perfect dad bod build, but Chubby's is perfect to match my unique fit and style, which is really tough considering my size. With a variety of high-quality everyday men's apparel, you can pick from the most comfortable shorts you'll wear all summer to swim trunks, pants, polos, and even button-down shirts. That'll make grandma praising how well you clean up and your girlfriend wanting to get down. So embrace the spirit of endless summer with Chubbies, the ultimate destination for bold, vibrant, and outrageously comfortable clothing. For a limited time, Chubby Shorts is giving our listeners 20% off your order with our exclusive code. Use that code CHAT, that's code CHAT, at chubbyshorts.com. The link and information is in the comment section and description of this video. Let the weekend begin. And let the show begin officially, because the trade update around Marshon Lattimore is really, really positive if you're in the camp of keep him around for the future. So Dennis Allen at the golf tournament did say that he had a, quote, positive conversation with Marshon Lattimore about 2 weeks ago. And he went on to say in that quote, "We're moving forward." So to me, that shuts every door of a trade. That shuts every possibility of moving on from number 23. And this isn't really that much of news, but it's official news, because if you remember a little bit ago, Mickey Loomis said that New Orleans is not actively trying to trade Marshon Lattimore. But if there's an offer they can't refuse, of course they're going to explore it. But it just didn't come in. They didn't get the offer that they needed. But I'm just going to say this. I've been saying this all along. I was right. I called this. I knew what was going down. Because if you remember a while back in January, Marshon Lattimore's contract was actually restructured to make a trade possibly a little bit easier. But I actually was on the record right here on the video. I'll link it in the comments and description if you don't believe me. I was saying just because he got restructured doesn't mean they're moving on from him. There's a lot of reasons as to why the Saints could move on or could restructure his contract. And one of those is to just create more cap space. So that's something that I think the New Orleans Saints were planning this entire time. I don't think they were ever looking to move on from Marshon Lattimore. They were probably fielding a few phone calls here and there, but nothing that was really worth substance. So I've been saying it all along, and I know ball. But if you know ball, I need you to subscribe today. We're currently at 27,680 strong members of our family. I want to get to 27,700 with this video. So if you're a real ball knower, prove it by hitting that big red sub button and locking us in for free Saints videos every single day. Now, to continue with my thought process on why I think Marshon Lattimore and keeping him is such a big idea and such a big win for New Orleans, there's so many reasons. And to be honest, I couldn't really come up with a list of like all of them. So I narrowed it down to my top 5 reasons as to why keeping Marshon Lattimore is important. Not only is he a really dominant cornerback, and he is, in my opinion, one of the best corners in the league when he's healthy. He also can help Kool-Aid McKinstry turn into a really, really good cornerback. He already comes in with a lot of skills, a lot of really nice traits, and a very high ceiling. However, I think that having Marshon Lattimore around is only going to help his development. I mean, who better to learn from than number 23? And who better to learn how to lock down a divisional opponent's receiver than Marshon Lattimore, who, may I remind you, is Mike Evans' literal father. Paulson Adebo also is a really good compliment to Marshon Lattimore, and I think that the two of them together work really, really well. Now, obviously, when Adebo was called to be the CB1, when Marshon Lattimore was missing time over the past 2 seasons, he fit the bill, he answered the call, and he was really, really good. But I think that these 2 points right here are really important too. He has a lot of leadership in the New Orleans Saints locker room. The team looks up to him. He is a true leader, and he is a strong point of building a winning culture and continuing the winning culture that the Saints have built over the last few seasons, but they haven't quite really been back there. So I think that he's a good culture piece because also he's talking that shit all the time, and he's a quality player, and he provides depth at a position which, quite frankly, every team could use some depth in. And I'm not saying that Marshon Lattimore is a depth piece. He is the starter, but he provides depth because Kool-Aid McKinstry can sit behind him and learn. And call me crazy, guys, but I'd rather see Kool-Aid McKinstry not sit entirely for a year, but not be a full-time starter just thrown into the wolves. I'd like to see him get some practice. I'd like to see him get some mentorship and learn from Paulson Adebo, from Marshon Lattimore, and hell, even Alontae Taylor, because, yeah, his career is young, but he's still been pretty productive. Now, the PFF coverage grade for Taylor, it doesn't really do him any favors, but I also understand that he wasn't in maybe the best role for the specific player last year. I can say this, though. When you have a crew like this, and I call them the flight crew for a reason, because they're holding it down in the air, batting down passes left and right. When you have these 4 guys on your roster, I'm sorry to say it, it's a great problem to freaking have. It's an amazing problem. Like, what more could you ask for? You have quality depth. You have 2 starting players that are arguably some of the best in the league. And you have 2 backup players that are really, really young and really, really talented with a lot of upside. So I think this is a phenomenal problem for New Orleans to have. And I understand some people were in the camp of move on from the contract, get some extra draft capital. We have Kool-Aid, so why do we need him? But I'm just going to say it. Keeping Marshon Lattimore was an excellent decision, and it is an excellent decision. And as long as he is in the black and gold, I think New Orleans will be throwing beads and celebrating because Lattimore is that guy. But I want to ask you this question. What is your favorite moment from Marshon Lattimore? Like, what's your favorite highlight? What's your favorite play? What's your favorite game or big-time moment that he had? I'm curious as to what you guys think. I mean, if I had to pick one, can I pick any of the Mike Evans lockdowns? I mean, those are always really fun. That was a lot of fun. Or, hell, the pick 6 against the Eagles last year, that was pretty cool. I really enjoyed that moment as well. So there's some recent moments for you, but get down in the comment section because Marshon Lattimore has a lot of highlights. Now, coming up next on the program, we're going to be discussing should New Orleans bring back Can't Guard Mike. Now, I've talked about this before. I talked about it on the show a handful of times, actually, in terms of whether or not the Saints should even keep Michael Thomas when he was still around. But I want to explore this conversation because I put out a post over the weekend on X, formerly known as Twitter, of the updated depth chart for New Orleans in the wide receiver room. And I feel like something's missing here. And I'm going to show you the depth chart, and I want you guys to just take a look here. I do think that A.T. Perry is a really good wide receiver. I think Equanimous St. Brown maybe has a roster spot, but I think Bub Means has a lot to prove this year. And I will say this, a big-bodied X-receiver is something that I think this depth chart needs right now. And the market's been pretty quiet for Michael Thomas, so maybe you can kind of get him for some cheap, and maybe sort of cheap at least. But there is the one point of it might be too late to rebuild the bridge. It might be too late to just fix everything because when you combine the injuries and you combine the shit talking, to put it in a nice light, that he took to social media and just started blabbering, I mean, this is still a player who I think is talented, but we're never going to see the 2019 version of him again. I just have to be the bearer of bad news. And, of course, I think it would be fun to have Mike back on the team. He was a really good player for the black and gold for quite a while. And to be honest, I think that he is a big reason as to why Drew Brees found so much success late in his career. I don't necessarily know if a reunion is in the cards, but I want to ask you this quick question before I give you my answer. Where do you think MT will play in 2024? Like, I've kind of floated out the idea of the Ravens. I floated out the idea of the Chiefs. The Steelers have apparently reportedly made some calls, and been in contact and stuff. So I'm just kind of curious as to where you guys think he'll play in 2024. But I will say this, unfortunately, I do think that the MT era in New Orleans is over. I don't think that there's any reason that the Saints should try and bring him back. Like, I really like the player, don't get me wrong, and I really like the idea of having Michael Thomas, but I kind of think of it similar to an ex-girlfriend. I kind of just like the idea of having him back around, and not my ex-girlfriend. My ex-girlfriend sucks, but yeah, shout out Maddie, you rock. But it's kind of that same thing where it's like, well, he's gone, so do I miss the player? Do I miss the person? Or do I miss the idea of having the person around? So I also think that you have that fill, the person that fills that void in the roster. And I think you took him this year in the draft. Bub Means, look at the size and the athletic profile side by side. I've shown this graphic a handful of times, but I'm going to continue to show this one. Obviously, Michael Thomas is a better route runner. Obviously, he has better hands, but all the reports around Bub Means at rookie minicamp were that he is that guy. He has strong hands. He is lethal over the middle. Does that remind you of somebody? Reminds me of number 13. But I also will say this. There is a possible option that you brought in with the undrafted free agents. And Kyle Sheets, who played at Slippery Rock last year, I mean, you see the production on your screen, but listen to this. He had a 9.44 relative athletic score, a 4.5 40-yard dash, and a 37-inch vertical. He's 6'4", 220 pounds, which is bigger than Bub Means and bigger than Michael Thomas. So maybe this could be your X-receiver option. I mean, New Orleans is notorious for finding quality players late in the draft and that are UDFAs as well. But maybe a last dance reunion for those of you who are like, no, we need to have him retire as Saint. Maybe at the end of his career, he wants to come back on a one-year deal, play a season, and just, sail off into the sunset. I don't think that the Saints and Michael Thomas will ever have a reunion, but, in a few years from now, who knows? So I want you to answer this question before we hop on out of here. It's the last one of the day. Would you ever bring back Michael Thomas, whether it's now or in the future? Just give me a simple yes or a simple no in the comments section. And thank you so much for tuning in to today's video, Who Dat Nation. Y'all stay golden. We'll have more updates from OTAs and mini camps and all sorts of fun stuff tomorrow. So be sure to tune in to the next video. Y'all stay golden. We'll see you next time.